The hardest decision that I ever have made in my life is to leave my children. One morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, I have to make that decision. I have to help my husband because he was a union organizer and he was under death threat. It was too dangerous to tell the kids why we were leaving. It was too dangerous to bring the kids along with us. So I have to write a letter for the kids and leave it under the pillow. Cody, we are not able to wake you up because we will wake your brother and sister and they will cry. Take care of yourself. Take care of your brother and sister. Try to understand your grandmother. I love you very much, your mother.
On March 15, 2009, what once seemed impossible happened in the small Central American country of El Salvador. For the first time in 150 years, El Salvador elected a president of the people, Mauricio Funes. Funes represents the FMLN, the political extension of an armed guerrilla movement that fought the oppressive right-wing government during a brutal 12-year civil war begun in the 1980s. But Funes was a journalist, not a combatant. Hosting a popular television interview show, he was known for seeking both sides of an issue, an approach that led to a correspondence with CNN in Espanol. As Funes became acquainted with the rebel leaders through his journalism, he realized he could best effect positive change in El Salvador through a role in politics. In his victory speech on election night, Funes said, "Opportunity has arrived for genuine Democrats, for men and women who believe in social justice and solidarity. But this change will not come easily. The second most densely populated country in all the Americas, today El Salvador is a crowded, impoverished nation. Its history has been defined by economic tensions concerning land ownership, as 7.2 million residents share this mountainous territory the size of Massachusetts. There was a time when indigenous communal farms thrived alongside land holdings of the Spaniards, but the introduction of cash crops such as coffee and indigo ended this peaceful coexistence. An oligarchy rose to power and seized communal lands, reducing the indigenous people to landless farm laborers. During the Great Depression, coffee prices plummeted, farm workers were put out of work, and poverty caused widespread unrest. The government, allied with wealthy oligarchs, answered peasant uprisings with military suppression, murdering tens of thousands of insurgents. The 1970s saw an escalation in resistance to economic oppression as liberation theology, which emphasizes justice for the poor and oppressed, was propagated amidst the impoverished. Inspired by a church summit in 1968, religious leaders saw the need for solidarity with the working class and broke ranks with political and economic powers. In 1977, the oligarchy struck back, murdering Jesuit priest and social activist Father Rutilio Grande, the first of many church martyrs in El Salvador. After the assassination of Rutilio Grande, Archbishop Oscar Romero revealed a radicalism the Salvadoran Church had not yet seen by publicly condemning the government's history of human rights violations. He, too, was assassinated. At Romero's funeral, snipers fired at the tens of thousands of people gathered to mourn the Archbishop's death. This incident fueled nationwide opposition to government violence. 5 revolutionary organizations merged into the FMLN, a guerrilla army designed to overtake the Salvadoran government by force. Because of the coalition's ties to Marxism, the United States government became directly involved out of the Cold War mentality that necessitated the support of any anti-communist regime. At the peak of the fighting, the United States was sending over $1 million a day in military aid to the right-wing government of El Salvador. By the time peace accords were signed in 1992, more than 70,000 civilians had been killed by their own army. This film chronicles the many legacies of this armed conflict. You will meet a Salvadoran couple who fled death threats in the 1980s, finding asylum and a political platform in the United States. You will meet another couple who returned to El Salvador after the war to work with churches and poor communities. You will hear the story of a heroic environmentalist named Marcelo Rivera, who was kidnapped or disappeared by a death squad just days before the filming of this documentary. And you will meet human rights officials who work diligently to record the violations that occur every day in this tragic and beautiful country.
Te lo dije bien clarito.
Permanece a la escucha. Permanece a la escucha.
12 de la noche en La Habana, Cuba.
11 de la noche en San Salvador, El Salvador.
11 de la noche en Managua, Nicaragua.
Me gustan los aviones, me gustas tú. Me gusta viajar, me gustas tú. Me gusta la mañana, me gustas tú. Me gusta el viento, me gustas tú. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais pas. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je ne sais plus. ¿Qué voy a hacer? Je suis perdu. ¿Qué horas son, mi corazón? Me gusta la canela, me gustas tú. Me gusta la Coruña